We're going to start exploring sine and cosine graphs based on the unit circle. So from the last unit, we're using our unit circle to fill out the first two rows, and then we're using a calculator to fill out the rest. So refer to the unit circle and see how to convert degrees into radians. So what's 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 90, 120. So again, turn back to your unit circle. This is your reference point for everything you need, 30, 60, 90, 0, and whatever else is here. So 120 is 2 pi over 3. So you're just filling out the table. 150 is 5 pi over 6. 180 is pi. 210 is 7 pi over 6, etc. You're going to fill out the rest. Obviously, it's the same thing for cosine graphs or sine graphs, so you're just converting the degrees into radians. Refer to the unit circle and fill out the table. All right, then once you do that, what is the value of sine at 0? So again, refer back to the unit circle. All right, remember, cosine is the x and sine is the y-axis. So x-axis is first, so the first number is x, the second is y. The first number is x, the second is y. So x is cosine, y is sine. So I'm going to fill out the right-hand side of the page and then fill out the left. So 1, 0. So at 0, it's 1 on cosine, 1 on cosine, 0 on sine. 1 on cosine, 0 on sine. And I'm going to repeat this process for everyone. So for 30, it's radical 3 over 2 for x, radical 3 over 2 for cosine, and 1/2 on the left side of the page, 1/2 for sine. And I'm going to keep doing this all the way through. So 60 is 1/2 and radical 3 over 2. So 1/2 for cosine, radical 3 over 2 for sine. So right side of the page and left side. 90 is 0, then 1. So 0 for cosine, 1 for sine. 120 is negative 1/2 and radical 3 over 2. So negative 1/2 for cosine, radical 3 over 2 for sine. This is a listening check, color in exploring cosine graphs. All right, so again, you're going to fill out the rest of it. Okay, so I do quite a few for you. Fill out the rest. So 210 is negative radical 3 over 2 for cosine and negative 1/2 for sine. So fill out the rest of the table. All right, now use your calculator to find the radicals in decimal format. So just put this in the calculator, 0, 0. 1/2 in the calculator is 0.5. Radical 3 over 2 is 0.66 something, which is 0.7. So fill this out. Just plug it in the calculator and fill it out. And you're filling out the rest of it. Just putting it in the calculator and seeing what it is. Once you have that, you're going to plot it, okay? So sine y means the angles is plotted across the x-axis and the sine values is plotted along the y-axis. All right, so here I have it in radians and here I have it in degrees because there are two ways you can see it. You need to know both. So we're going to plot it basically, okay? So in order to plot it, you can extend this to 4 pi. We're not going to extend it to 4 pi. It's only to 2 pi. But if we were going to extend it to 4 pi, remember it goes a full circle is 360 degrees, right? Then every time you go past that, you're going to add 30 degrees between this little space, and then 15 degrees there, 15 degrees there, and 30 degrees there. So the bigger spaces are 30, the little ones are 15. And we did this in the unit circle, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back. Finally, you come 360, which is 720. That's a coterminal angle. So again, don't know what that is, refer to the last unit. But we're not going to do it 4 pi, but you do need to know that that's how you get it. So let's plot 0, 0, 0, 0. All right, radical. Sorry, not pi over 6 goes with 1/2. Pi over 3 goes with 0.7, about there. Pi over 2 goes with 1. So pi over 2, 1. 2 pi over 3, 0.7. 5 pi over 6, 0.5. So I'm just plotting pi, 0. 7 pi over 6, negative. And so negative 0.5 right there. And you're going to finish off the rest of the graph. And then you're going to join all the dots together to see what kind of graph it's going to make. And that's how you plot sine. Now we're going to do the same thing to cosine. Only this time they give you degrees, so we're going to focus on the degrees. So degrees is on the top, and then we're plotting the bottom values, the calculator values. So 0, 1 would be my first one. So 0 degrees is 1. Pi over 6, which is 30 degrees, is 0.7. 60 degrees is 0.5. 90 degrees is 0. 120 is negative 0.5. 150 is negative 0.7, then negative 1. Then negative 0.7, so you can see it's starting to change. Go ahead and finish out the rest of the table, all right, and then draw your graph. Finish the table, draw your graph. All right, so the main part is you do need to know the 5 most important points, the quadrilateral points. Okay, so if you have a circle and you break it up into 4, that will give you the quadrilaterals are angles, and you need to know these 5 points. So they're 5 because you include 360. So what are the sine values at these 5 points in both radians and degrees? Okay, so you can see it goes up 90, 180, 270, 360 in the quadrilaterals. So just plot it from the table that you have above. So 180 is 0, and so forth. So sine starts at the origin, then goes 1, 0, negative 1, 0. So boom. Then that sine graph repeats on the negative side. So I'm just going to plot the negatives, and then it goes down to negative 1, 0, 1, and then back to 0. So sine starts at the origin. Very, very important. Starts at the origin. You have to know that. You're going to repeat the same thing in radians. So 1, 0, negative 1, 0, and then the other side. So negative 1, 0, 1, 0. Okay, so that's what a sine graph looks like. What does a cosine graph looks like? So cosine, so again, the quadrilateral angles, 0, 90, 180, 270, 360. 0, they're the angles right there. All you're doing is plotting it on this graph. So I'm just interested in the quadrilaterals angles. So it starts at 1, 0, 1. So starts at 1. So this is the difference between sine and cosine. Okay, then graph it. Okay, then it goes 0, negative 1, 0, 1. All right, and as you can see, this is what the sine graph looks like. Okay, it looks like a wine glass to me. If you look at just one period, it looks like the wine glass. So I remember cosine is a wine glass and sine starts at the origin. So I'm just going to duplicate that on the other side. So again, you're just plotting the values that you already have in the table. Right, so now it has 2 wine glasses. So that starts at the origin, that one starts at 1. Very, very important. So sine at the origin. All right, what is a period? A period is a function that repeats over and over. So you can see this has 2 periods at this point because that's 1 period, right? So yes, it is a period and it repeats at 2 pi. What is the domain? Let's do a period for cosine. So cosine, how does it repeat? It's like a cup and a cup, right? So it's like from there to there is a period, or from the top to the top is a period. So that's 2 pi as well. So yes, it does repeat at 2 pi. Okay, what is the domain? From left to right. All right, so the graph goes on forever, the left and forever on the right. So that's all real numbers, and you write that like that. Same thing for cosine, all real numbers. And then the range, remember, is from the minimum to the maximum. So minimum is negative 1, maximum is 1. Closed intervals, because it includes those numbers. Same thing with cosine, negative 1 to positive 1, closed. All right, the y-intercept. So the y-intercept for sine is going to be at 0. The y-intercept for cosine is going to be at 1, where it crosses the y-axis. All right, where it crosses the x-axis multiple times. So I'm going to start kind of in the middle and then go negative, positive. So it starts 0, then 180, then 360. On the negative side, negative 180, then negative 360. And so it just keeps going in both directions. So every 180 degrees starting from 0. Just a listen check, color in from 0. All right, so going to do the same thing. So it starts at 90, then goes to 270. So it's every 180 degrees starting from 90, plus and minus, right, in both directions. And again, so this is every 180 degrees from 90. So plus and minus. All right, the maximum value is, so maximum, the very top of the graph is 1. And it occurs when x is what? It occurs when x is 90. It also occurs when x is negative 270. And it keeps going as well, right? The minimum value is negative 1, and it happens there, which is negative 90, and it also happens there, which is 270. And again, it keeps going in both directions. That's really important. The maximum value here is positive 1, and it occurs when x is 0, and also when x is, what's that, 2 pi or 360. And again, in both directions, so it also happens at negative 360. Minimum value is negative 1, it occurs at negative 180, it also happens at positive 180. All right, what is the midline? Very, very important. It's a horizontal line midway between the max and the minimum. So right here in the middle, it's y equals 0. Same thing here, middle of the whole graph, which is y equals 0. All right, what is the amplitude? Height from the center line to the peak. From the center to the peak is 1, or you can measure the lowest to the highest and divide by 2. So it's 1, or highest to the lowest, count the boxes, it's 2 boxes, divided by 2 is 1. So 2 ways you can do it. And I'll show you again because I got cut off on the next cosine because it's the same thing. All right, so amplitude from the middle to the first line is 1, or highest and lowest, that's 2 boxes, divided by 2 is 1. All right, so amplitude is the distance from the midline to the top or the bottom. All right, let's practice.